this is that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's incredible. It's spectacular on every level of like filmmaking. So it's definitely, like I just said, like it's probably the best. It is my fourth favorite, because I like three more, better, but I just posted this because it's on Hulu and I gave it a recommendation. And, we started talking about it because no one had watched it. And with This or Silence, and it was kind of like, it is one of those movies that, like, sometimes the best movies are challenging in that way. You know what I mean? Like, you don't just throw it on and you're just like sensory overload right away. Like, it builds, it's slow, it has these themes and this depth and richness that, some audience just don't have the time for, actually. But when you watch it, like, you're rewarded tenfold. And this movie, especially, when it ends, and just a nice crusher. Once again, where you're talking about the female gaze, I don't think there's a male in like the whole movie shown on camera. It's totally that, you know what I mean? Like, it's just a beautiful movie. And like, I love, the female perspective in general, like my music, my movies. Like, actually, when I look at my top four, I'm going to kind of give away the next three, but they're all female led movies.
Neon
And
has
so
a strong
far,
docket.
so are your two.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So let's see if we keep the streak, because all five of mine are female-led movies.
Oh wow.
But this one is the ultimate. I mean, it's like I just said, everything about it. It's beautiful. Like I said, I don't think there's a male in it in general. It's beautiful. It crushes you. It's technical filmmaking, its best, but it still gets kind of like weird at times. Like the fire scene comes to mind. They play this really like freaky music where I'm just like, what's that track? Like, I'm like searching for it. And, but at the end of the day, yes, it'll crush you and it'll just leave you like I love the movie experience where you have to like, oh my God, like what did, like, other meanings and stuff. And you have to kind of keep digging for the depth and the richness behind it. So France really messed up not making this their
what was it?
their
Les
entrance
Mis?
to best. They use like the Les Mis or Les Miserables, not the musical, but they used another movie instead of Portrait of a Lady on Fire as their Oscar entry, which I think was crazy. But Parasite was that year anyway.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would have made a difference, but they could have got a nomination, for sure.
Yeah, like woulda, coulda, shoulda, but it shoulda. And this is like a bit of hyperbole, but you could pause this movie at any time and just Claire's framing of this film. I mean, yeah, exactly. It's beautiful. I love the shot when they're in the field, kind of picking, and one stands up and the other doesn't. What a beautiful shot! And I think one of my favorite moments is when Eloise,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, when she sees what the painting of her and she doesn't like it and she just sort of looks at it and doesn't say anything. Like her reaction to the first painting that she sees by Marianne.
Yes.
And she's disappointed with it, but she doesn't say it, but you can feel it. And it's just one of those movies where it's just so expressive, and I know some people have made fun of it with the longing looks, and it's like a period lesbian film. A lot of people make fun of those, like Ammonite and like those kind of movies, which I think it's unfair because I don't. It seems very I don't know, archaic to do that, but they probably haven't seen this movie. But just the looks and the framing and good running in it, she always wanted to run, so that's cool.
We always love a run scene.
So you're gonna like my third, because it's Colossal, Anne Hathaway.
Okay.
She's the star of it. It's like I was reading a review for this, and it's an alcoholism drama, it's a dark comedy, and it's a monster movie. And
I love that.
And like I think also too, it features the best Jason Sudeikis performance I've ever seen.
Okay.
I think I love him as Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
But like this performance isn't the smarmy, for lack of a better word, smarmy, sarcastic Jason Sudeikis. This has some menace to it. It has some loneliness, some sadness, some anger. It's just a really layered performance. And what I like about Colossal, I've never seen most of the stuff in this movie. I can't, like I didn't know how it was going to build. I didn't know where it was going. I didn't know what was coming next. I didn't know what, when, where, why, how. And I mean, I'm a huge, like, if I had to pick one genre of movies, like if they're like, Mark, you go into a desert island, you can pick one genre of movies. I'd be like, I was like, well, how do I have a DVD player there? But never mind. I would take like monster movies or like creature
Yeah.
features. I'm obsessed with them. And so you have this drama, the alcoholism drama, monster movie, and a dark comedy. But I think it works. Like, I think it really explores, it explores like what happens after bars close really believably. Just, how like you stay afterwards and you just drink till 7. Like, I think it explains that life really well. But then there's also monsters in it. And
Yeah.
the monster attacks Korea. I lived in Korea for a year, so like anything Korean I adore. So
Yeah.
yeah, and it also got me started with Neon. So I had to put it on my list, and I think about it a lot. And for me, like my top lists are always the movies that just stay in my brain because we watch so many
Yeah.
movies, Joe. Like I
Dude.
forget so quickly.
Oh,
Like
dude, I forget. Yeah.
yeah,
Like it's hard because one affects you, then you're like, oh, well, I've seen it, but like I couldn't really tell you my complete, blossom thoughts on it unless I like watched it again right now,
mm-hmm.
because yeah, you just forget. But this dude, I love this because we're 3 for 3 on movies I haven't seen.
Hey, nice.
So I love Anne Hathaway and what you're saying about it. Like I don't seek out monster movies. My style is so character driven that I don't seek out like anything. Like basically, if a movie has special effects, like I don't really watch it.
Got
Like
it.
there's few like I'm trying to think of a movie that like has special effects that like I love, and like Ex Machina. Like I
Oh
love
man.
that movie. And there's probably a few others, but like I'm just like very like character, like doesn't even have to be like a crazy plot, anything. So I don't seek this out. But when I do watch something like a monster movie or something a little like out there, like I want it to be a little more fun and kind of a spectacle and blend genres like you talked about. So this actually does kind of sound up my alley. Like I watched it before. I love Anne Hathaway. This is another movie. I was like, holy shit, that looks interesting. And then I'm like, where did it go?
Yeah.
Like I never thought about it again until we did this Neon episode and I looked on the Neon website about it. The way you're describing in the beginning, like another thing I love about movies is when you can't necessarily describe what genre they're in. And that sounded like you were at first, you're kind of like, well, it's this, but it's also like kind of a little bit of this. And it's like, you should like, it should have everything. Like Riders of Justice, like what's
Oh
that? Like there's
man.
just a
Yeah.
ton of things. Like, but like this is like, yes, it is a monster movie, but it gives you probably some other things from what it seems like. And I think those are kind of the best movies of me, like, Reese's
Absolutely.
Pieces, chocolate, but also peanut butter,
Give
you
me trivia.
know?
Yeah. It's funny. I couldn't
So
find the movie really anywhere, so I went and rented it at a Redbox, and I forgot to return it. So I think I paid $30 for Colossal, but it's worth it.
oh shit.
So now
Yeah,
I own the movie Colossal on my. I forgot to return the Redbox, but
that's big. And I love Anne Hathaway. She hasn't done much lately, huh? She's doing a show with Jared Leto,
yeah,
the
I
like
don't know.
WeWork or
I saw the
whatever.
picture of
But
him, and I was like, ugh. But this is good, right? We wanted to do this episode to introduce people to new movies, and you haven't seen
yeah,
three of the ones,
and
so
you're
this is
in a
awesome.
dude, 3 for 3, dude.
Yeah, I like it.
This is great. Oh, we're going for my number 3. That is going to be The Worst Person in the World.
Oh man.
That's a 2021 movie. Just one that stuck with me. I think one of the best acting performances of the year and also supporting actor, as well. What can I say? I mean, just, not to ruin too much, it's something that any of us have gone through just growing up in life and really trying to find our way. And sometimes it takes being selfish, and things that you might not be proud of to do it, but that's just how it is. Like I said, the acting performance was just like intoxicating. They still take some interesting risks, when they're filming like the coffee like
Oh yeah.
scene and all that kind of stuff. So it still gives you that. But man, yeah, this is just a movie that stuck with me. Like if you like a Lady Bird, it's almost like a more adult version without like the mom relationship. Like the character just kind of reminded me in a way of
Yeah.
Lady Bird in that realm, which that's like my favorite movie of like the decade. So the characters, it like reminded me of an older version of her. Yeah, this was one of the movies that I couldn't wait to see, just hearing it. And then it's so beautiful when you watch one and like it's everything that people said it was, and it's everything you thought it would be, and it really delivers. Because sometimes that can go bad. Like you have so much expectations, and then you're just kind of like waiting for it to be good. Like
Mm-hmm.
this was just my my on my wave, like right off the bat.
It's just so good, and it's interesting you said that. Once again, Zanandi, she was on the podcast. She had so much hype, and she really wasn't a fan of it the first time she watched it. But then she kept messaging me about how much she remembered about it, and she's like, "Actually, I do love this movie." And just
Yeah,
they traded the Lady Bird's mom for a really bad dad. Oh, geez, Louise, this guy. But I like, man, that dad is. That's see. Why don't you come visit your daughter? Why don't you? I'll pick you up. Parking. Oh, what a. Ugh. And also, what
yeah.
Ander
Anders
Danielson Lee.
Danielson Lee.
Man, between this and Bergman Island and his
Yeah,
monologue about like owning practical items, and that floored me. It floored me.
yeah,
And this the what freezing scene, the party scene where they're like, how close can we get? It just felt alive and it felt mature.
yes,
We don't get much of that. We don't. I know it's very easy to say European films are different, but we just don't get much of these kind of films. And it didn't feel judgy. It didn't,
yeah.
no, I just dug it. It was, and like you said, it lived up to the hype.
Yeah, and another thing again that we'll talk about as far as like the female perspective, I like that this worst person in the world that was doing this and doing that, things you could judge, like you said, like it didn't feel judgy, like things you could judge were done by her, and it showed that like I don't know, like I feel like it's usually like the males are only allowed to make bad decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Like The Lost Daughter comes to mind. You know what I mean? Like they don't show motherhood and like females in that perspective. Like they have to be this, they have to be that. If they're going to be on screen and you're going to relate to them, they have to be like a perfect this and that. But like that one and this one both made it like no, like girls can fucking be selfish and like
Yeah,
fuck
yeah.
up and do what they want to. It doesn't revolve around what a guy's gonna feel, and they're not gonna revolve their life around that like everyone kind of thinks they should. So I love that the lead was a female character also. So like I said, my top five are all female leads, just
Well,
like my music.
I'm gonna wreck it here. I'm gonna wreck it. Oh wait, Casey Musgraves has an appearance in Wild Rose.
Ooh,
So I figured I
perfect.
forgot to tell you that, but yeah, I
Okay.
think yeah. I'm gonna
Okay,
wreck it here,
perfect.
but
With
this
the two?
movie has haunted me. My number
Okay.
two, yeah, it's kind of haunted me. Like so, Harmony Korine, his movie Spring Breakers, and his
Yeah.
movie The Beach Bum, which is my number two. I feel like they have just a permanent residence in my brain because I grew up like in Hudson, Florida. I live in Atlanta now, but I grew up like Hudson, Florida. I went to Hudson
Yeah.
Elementary, Hudson Middle, Hudson High. I grew up like in the country of Florida. Then I moved to St. Pete, where Spring Breakers takes place, and I had some late nights in Tampa. Like I used to think that like Tampa was crazy, but then my buddy's like, "Man, Mark, it sounds like you're invading Tampa when you go there. Like, it's not like Tampa's fault. Like, it sounds like it's you." Then that made a lot of sense to me. But like the way that he films Florida. Now, obviously, I've never hung out with like a drug dealing James Franco and went on a gunfight and did all that, or like I've never
Yeah.
been a beach bummer on the Keys.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
we haven't. Yeah.
I had a knife fight with a bunch of drug dealers, but not a gunfight. But yeah, so just the Keys and the way they show Florida, and what I like too is the beach bum shows the opulence of Florida, but it also shows like the back roads, the seedy places, the seedy bars. And what I like about Harmony Korine, where like we were talking about this when you were talking about our best performances, like Sean Baker, he does a great job. Like he'll put in a Willem Dafoe into a movie, but it's mostly really homegrown, realistic performances, or like a Simon Rex. What I like what Harmony does is he gets Matthew McConaughey, Snoop Dogg, Isla Fisher. Martin Lawrence gets his foot bit off by a shark in this movie. Like that's one of my favorite things that's happened this past decade. But I just McConaughey too. Just
Oh,
this movie, like I don't know. It's just he keeps moving forward. He lives in the now. Like I'm gonna shave my beard to look like Zac Efron's. He did that. So Harmony saw Panini and he was like, I'm gonna have someone do their facial hair like that, and that's why Zac Efron looks like he does in that movie. But I haven't been able to forget it. It's just an interesting hangout picture. It's kind of positive, but it's kind of nihilistic, and you just get Buffett and Snoop on a yacht
yes.
singing music together. You get Matthew McConaughey with a kitten. I have two cats. That makes me happy. He's playing bongos with a python
Hmm.
crawling over. It's
Just like you imagine Matthew McConaughey, actually, which is funny.
He just got
You
a
know what I mean?
camera out and filmed him.
Yeah.
But just, I don't know why. I know I wrecked our run here, but
No.
I don't know. I just haven't been able. I feel like this movie. I understand why it has a low score. It's like 5.5 on IMDb,